India in 1996 and a postdoc from German National Research Center for Information Technology (GMD), St. Augustine, Germany in 2001. He is currently the Poonam Goel and Prabhu Goel Chair Professor with IIT Kanpur in Kanpur, India, and the incoming director of IIT Mandi. He is having research and teaching experience of more than 23 years. From 1995 to 1999, he was an assistant professor with the Birla Institute of Technology and Science at Pilani in Pilani, India. From 2007 to 2009, he was a reader with the Intelligent Systems Research Centre, University of Ulster, Birmingham, UK. He was a visiting researcher professor with Fraunhofer Gesellschaft FAG, Munich, Germany, with ETH Zurich in Zurich, Switzerland, and also with Hangzhou Dianzi University in Hangzhou, China. He is one of the pioneers in the field of AI-based autonomous robotics. His current research interests include convergence of machine learning, control theory, robotic vision, and heterogeneous robotic platforms. Dr. Behera is also a fellow of INAE. With this very short bio, I request Professor Behera to start his lecture today. Thank you.
Thank you, Soham, for your kind introduction. I am least prepared for this talk in the sense that I don't know who are the audience. I have not even gathered the data. Who will be listening? And this is from a Sanskrit forum. I can only, as far as Sanskrit is concerned, I can quote the verses from Bhagavad Gita and can explain. Of course, I can explain also in terms of some of the in-depth import of that. But let's see this topic. Let me share. How do we share here? Share content. Share content. This one. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, it is visible, Professor Behera. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is something that I had, the same PPT I'm using that I had given long back, 2018, in MIT. But after that, I have some recent PPT also, but I wanted to merge, but it was not possible because I was just having discussion with your director until 6 o'clock. So anyway, so I welcome everyone who are attending this seminar. What is conscious machine? That's the talk that's going on everywhere, right? Can we build a conscious machine? But let us understand philosophy of consciousness. Philosophy of consciousness is that which exists always. That means there is that which is immutable, immovable, indestructible, unburnt, uncut, unweighed. So there is this, these profound Vedantic ideas are very, very, it's amazing to hear, but they are not experienced. They are not empirically experienced in the sense that you can't take an electron microscope and see the consciousness. You can't do that. Or so there are so many things like no empirically any instrument that we have built can sense these things. So, and in Vedanta, we always talk a word called Satchit Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledge, and Ananda means joy. So that which is always situated in knowledge and transcendental joy always. That means there is no ignorance, there is no depression, there is no nothing. But the pandemic has come, and majority of us, we have entered into depression because we can't move out. There are some uh, freedom is curtailed and so forth, right? So it has no property that is observable in physical realm. So obviously, we cannot talk about this consciousness, qua consciousness, which is uh, connoted in Vedanta called Divya Chetana. Divya Chetana. Chetan means consciousness. And then we all experience something that is called material consciousness, that we all experience, which according to science is hallucination, like my greed, my lust, my anger. So according to the modern neuroscience, these are all hallucinations because they are simply some epiphenomenon of or emerging property of the brain in action, right? So this is the current standing, but you will be surprised to know our Francis Crick, one of the Nobel Prize winner in neuroscience, he has started admitting that mind must be more fundamental than the brain. But in Vedanta, in particularly in Bhagavad Gita 7.4 verse number, Lord Krishna talks about first the material consciousness that can be explained in terms of 8 elements: Bhumi, Apo, Anala, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhirevacha. So, Ahankara ityam astada, Prakritir Vinna astada. So that means the external consciousness that we talk about, they can be explained in terms of 5 space. And these 5 space are space of smell, which is earth. Normally, when we say earth, water, air, fire, ether, people take in ordinary language. This is a big mistake because people don't study Vedanta, so they don't understand what is earth, water, air, fire. So this is different space. Space of smell, which is connoted as earth. Space of taste is connoted as water. Space of form connoted as fire. Space of touch connoted as air, and space of sound, that is ether. So this is how, and then the space of emotion, desire, all that we go through, the turmoil. So that's mind, space of concepts, intelligence, and space of identity, false ego. So these 8 elements together explains, according to Vedanta, according to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the essence of Vedanta. So that explains what is external consciousness. And of course, that which is the pure consciousness is beyond the empirical science. So this is the status as of now. So let us go. Look at these, some of the product, whether it is Alexa, Siri, if you are traveling nowadays in a car, you simply call out the Siri, please connect me to my mom. You are driving and you are talking. You talk to Siri and say that, please, I have to now change my road and go to the instead of in the direction of IIT Roorkee, I want to go in the direction of Dehradun. So immediately, the Siri opens the Google map from your current location towards the Dehradun. So it looks like, and same thing also with Alexa and other products that are there, that is coming. And people are believing with AI, artificial intelligence, we literally have, broken the ice. That means we understand what is consciousness. But I'll give you some example, first of all, whether we really understand consciousness or not. Okay, so here, so you can see here, this is a setup in my laboratory. It was set up, this setup was set up in 2016. This robot went to Leipzig, Germany to participate in Amazon Robotics Challenge. So what this robot is doing? You go to a grocery shop and the list of items that you want to purchase, hand over that list to the shopkeeper. He goes and searches and gives you all those items that you need. Same thing this robot does. It has been given a list of 10 items, and these items are in some of the boxes in this rack, and robot has to find it and give it to you. And you can see this. In artificial intelligence, there are two things. One is weak artificial intelligence. The other is strong artificial intelligence. Okay. Weak means your machine is simply mimicking the behavior of the human. Strong means it is cognizant about the action. Okay. As of now, as far as science is concerned, they have not found an element that is cognitive. Okay. When a cognitive material element, and material element, it is self-aware. Okay. So this is not known. But still, there are some advocates, there are some AI researchers, they are talking about strong AI. There are, varieties of ideas that have come up in terms of, generalized artificial intelligence, and there are so many things. But if you have some idea about Vedanta, you would laugh at varieties of hypotheses that is doing the work. So it is better we become. I will give up these things, not because I wanted to explain to you that this, because according to the modern science or a scientist, if a robot is able to do all tasks, this robot is able to do tasks in the domain of Amazon warehouse or Alibaba warehouse. But if a robot is able to do n number of things like a human is able to do, then it is generalized intelligence, and then we can say a robot is self-aware. So without spending the time, I'll explain to you, because I don't want to give a lot of math here, but I'll just explain because you are all from IIT Roorkee. So you will have some, sense of what I'm saying. I will say in a very plain language you can understand. So you see, this is a robot, and this robot is being observed by these overhead cameras, right? And we can write the equation of this robot, behavior of this robot. in terms how this robot end effector, which moves in the Cartesian space, and the theta, the joint space in which the robot links are operating. So there are two parameters. One is x, the other is theta. So that is a relationship. The motion in the Cartesian space of the end effector and the motion in the joint space, that means each link, they are connected by a Jacobian, J. And similarly, the motion in the end effector is being observed by the camera. So these camera pixels, they have also motion. The pixels also have the have the corresponding motion as the end effector are uh, are moving, right? As end effector is moving, the corresponding pixels are also moving. So motion in the image space u dot and motion in the Cartesian space is being related by another matrix called L, that is called image Jacobian. You combine these two and then you get an equation, right? So, and then what you do, because we want to make a robot to go and grasp an object, manipulate an object. So you create in visual parameter error corrector. You can see here, UD is the desired visual feature, U is the actual visual feature, and then there is an error corrector loop, and there is a controller, and that actuates a velocity to the joint space, and then a robot moves in such a way that your U follows UD. So this is our control principle. And to execute this control principle, I'll give you a simple example. How do we do it? So visual space UD, here we have taken in terms of S, and this visual feature, right? Because you look at a bottle, you want to grasp a bottle, you want to grasp a mouse, right? So these have different visual features, okay? So you have a feature vector. In that feature vector, S1 to Sn, these are the desired visual feature. And these visual features you have to reach. So what you do, these visual feature, you fuzzyfy them, and based on that, you take a decision about the movement of your link or motion, right? So this is, you can see these are distributed PD controller, proportional derivative controller, proportional gain into error, derivative gain into change in error, right? And because, when you have a, you define your space, visual space, you discretize your visual space in terms of a multiple fuzzy zone. Within every fuzzy zone, you define a fuzzy controller, a PD controller. Why we define so many fuzzy zones? Because a robot manipulator is highly nonlinear. So hence, one PD controller cannot guarantee stability or accuracy of the performance. So hence what we do, we take many PD controller and fuzzy average them, right? Proportional gain into error and derivative gain into change in error. So what you do now? So once you have this n number of PD controllers, then you have to estimate all those proportional gain and derivative gain, right? So what you do, you take a Lyapunov candidate function. And what normally is, any one of you know that in control theory, if there is a closed loop control, so you take a loop along the signal flow. Along the loop, the total energy change should be negative. So this is the simple idea of Lyapunov function. So V, this is the V, and this is the V dot. This is this energy-like function, and change in that energy has to be negative definite. And you can see in this, there is P dot and D dot. You can see in this picture, there is a student standing there. He's Indraj, no, from Indonesia, who did his PhD under my guidance. And he came up with this equation to me and asked me, sir, I'm stuck here. So then I used some of the intuition, previous work, and then we hypothesize what should be P dot and D dot. You see, these are expression. And then I told him, please go back, replace this P dot and D dot and verify if B dot is negative definite. And he found out it is negative definite. Then he hard programmed this P dot and B dot, D dot in the onboard computer of the robot. And now you see, this is not working. Wow. This is surprising because I wanted to show you this. Let me insert video again. Yeah. Okay, now it will run. So you see here, this robot is following a pink ball while maintaining a fixed distance between the robot and the pink ball. Okay, and you can see that how naturally robot is following the pink ball, right? And it has a snake-like movement. But is this machine intelligent? Okay, and we always, because we need fonts, so we are very capable of using jargons, right? And that is what exactly we do. You see that this Lyapunov candidate function was not decided by the robot. It was decided by the researcher, by his own intelligence. And then this P dot and D dot, the core of the algorithm, see the change of the proportional gain, change in the derivative gain. This is the key because you have to tune your proportional gain and derivative gain. So that was again was decided by the human being, the researcher. Okay. And then this is hard program. And let me tell you, all AI machines are like this. And previously I showed you the architecture of the distributed PD controller. That architecture was also decided by us. So what did a robot do? And why do we say a robot is intelligent? And this is what is being sold in the market nowadays because we need funds. We have to tell. People are not telling what AI is doing. It's all hard programming. Whether it is deep learning, anything that we do, it's all hard programming finally as far as the machine is concerned. Machine is not doing any innovation. Now let us forget about this. Now let us talk about, I gave this example to illustrate that in the name of artificial intelligence, we are doing something nice, but behind that, there is some misleading happening. Okay, which should not have happened. And that is why even the person like Steve Hawking said he is frightened about artificial intelligence because machines are going to take over humans. It will never happen. Machines are simply will remain slaves as of now. As of now, machines will always remain slave because they are ignorant objects. They have no cognitive element within themselves. Now let me tell you, imagine, Diego Maradona is trapping the ball and then scoring a goal. right? This cannot be replicated in a machine, but he does it. For doing this small thing, my student got a PhD degree, right? Indrasno got a PhD degree, but just doing this. It's simple, and a robot is able to follow a ping pong. Now I can show you even we have done something even much better than this. Oh, we have progressed. But as I told you, there is no cognitive element in all this endeavor. Cognitive element is sitting within me. And that very, you see that whether it is Sachin Tendulkar and Diego Maradona, they don't understand all this physics, chemistry, or the laws. They don't know. But they're consciously aware of the location of the ball. They're consciously aware how to time the ball, how to bypass the goalkeeper and still shoot the goalpost. They are completely conscious. Everything they are conscious. This is called conscious computing. What Sachin Tendulkar does, what Diego Maradona does, they do conscious computing. So when I say, can we bring that conscious computing into the machine? So that is the title. Title is, can we bring this consciousness, conscious computing into the machine? Not this, what we are doing. Okay. Let me not spend time on this because you can see also here a little even better here. You can understand how we do in robotics. This is again in my lab. You teach the robot how to hit a ball, and then we have algorithms by which we are able to make the robot to learn how to hit the ball, right? So you will see that in the beginning, the robot will not be able to hit the ball properly, but we have to teach it more and more. And based on that, you will see that how the same robot will perform much better. Okay, so you see, this is a freely hanging ball and can come from any direction. Motion has to be tracked, and the ball has to be meddled from the bat, and all this is happening. And behind this, there are so many mathematics, but robot doesn't understand all these things. So I will skip all these things. Okay, so now we are here. So what is the hard problem? In fact, I was asked this very question in Taros 2007, which we conducted when I was not visiting, I was a permanent reader in University of Ulster. Taros is a UK conference on autonomous robot, and UK means United Kingdom. So there they asked me, what is a hard problem that we can tell to people, ordinary people can understand. So I had given this thing. So I said that suppose a robot lives in your house, hears your family members, picks up vocabulary slowly and steadily, and starts speaking in a broken language, becomes expert in your language, learns to write poetry, and receives a Nobel Prize in literature. Think about it. For developing an equipment like Siri or Alexa is fine. But can you create a machine that can get a Nobel Prize? You will never give a machine Nobel Prize if it is a slave of a human being, right? Isn't it? You program it and it learns from some kind of things, and then no, it has to be creative. So can we do it? It starts. So this is this is the hard problem. And let me go to little here. Living organism versus machine. I'm not talking about pure consciousness, because within the modern science, we deal this living body and a dead matter same in a similar way. And that is what is allopathy. Allopathy treats this body as simply a bag of chemicals. Whereas our tradition of Ayurveda, which is lost, unfortunately, we say Ayurveda. Literally, Ayurveda has been lost because of no state anchoring for many, many years. But in Ayurveda, we always considered living body more than the dead matter. It is something different. And I'll explain to you. There is a fundamental difference between a living organism and a machine. And I can emphatically tell you that in the current world, nobody understands a living matter. Forget about pure consciousness. So whether we talk about Gautama, Jaimini, Vyasa, the Kapila, the Sankhya philosopher, their understanding was much, much bigger than what we are talking about. You see a living organism that experiences hunger, fear, sleep, sexual desires. These are not there in any AI machine, cannot exhibit this, current AI machines. Similarly, self-replication. A seed is there, from the seed there are plant, from the plant there are natural self-replication. Human being, offspring, human being, offspring, goes on. In every, there are 8.4 million different species. In all species, there is a natural way of self-replication. It's not there. You cannot start a machine from a single automaton, and that would grow in terms of hardware as well as software, and will become an Nobel Prize winner. Is that possible? Creativity. No AI machine has creativity. They are not creative. Or any creativity comes to the AI machine is through the algorithm that are developed by the researchers. So these are the things that has to be understood at the ground level. People must know. Instead of creating a hype about the AI, there was a big hype in 70s in all American universities, and they took up the research in AI so that they can attract more fund. And then again, now after this AI was almost dead until almost 2001. I think 2005 the Hinton's deep learning first paper came, and suddenly the GPU, actually it is not because of the algorithm or architecture, it is the GPU, the the processing power, intense, a cheap computing power in terms of GPU. They are not so cheap, but anyway, they're cheap because you can put them in laptop, desktop, everywhere, and you can simulate very, very high level architecture, and then you say that we have done something wonderful, simulating the mind or mind project of the Google. These are all actually fooling people. If anybody who understands Vedanta We don't read Vedanta. This is the problem. So there are better source of knowledge. We should be open-minded. We should be open-minded in the sense that if there is a source of proper knowledge, why not look at it? Okay. So even a bee is more creative than any possible sophisticated machine that are being manufactured in the current age. We must give credit where that credit lies. So this is what I wanted to tell. Now, I have taken half an hour. How long I should continue? Another half an hour? Or so on?
Sir, 1 hour is fine, total 1 hour. So
Total 1 hour.
Another half an
Okay,
hour you
okay.
can.
So now I will come back to some ontological aspects of consciousness. So you see, when you, like, this sea beach you are seeing, the sea beach picture, let's say you are strolling along the sea beach in Jagannath Puri in Odisha. It's a fabulous experience. Okay. So this experience of the wave that you go through, this is so peaceful. You feel peace at yourself. You see the horizon unending. Once Professor P.K. Das, my own teacher, and myself, we went for a DST meeting in Chennai. And Mr. J.V. Reddy gave a car to Professor P.K. Das because he's a very senior professor. And we went to the beach. So while sitting, Professor Das was telling me, Lakshmidhar, whatever we may do, we cannot replicate the nature. Why you are saying? Because simply based on experience. Now, think of this wave. In a scientific way, what we will say? There is wind blowing. Wind is having molecules, its own molecules. It has certain momentum. The water has its own molecules. It has certain momentum. But when water comes in contact with the wind, then there is exchange of momentum, and because of that, there are tides. Right? So this is how you explain. But this explanation has nowhere tells us why I feel happiness being along the seashore. And the popular, I'll give you another example. Like a sweater, right? This sweater, somebody is making, in my villages, when we grew up, when winter would come, our mother, our sisters, they would start sewing in their hand. They will make all this sweater, right? So as far as science is concerned, this is simply a pattern. Okay. Whereas when I will wear this sweater And I know this my grandmother has made for me. My wife has made for me. It's a completely different experience. This has not been accounted within science. So science is all about pattern. Everything is all a pattern. Like wave is a pattern, sweater is a pattern. And for example, this is, right? Like somebody is putting a paint. Thank you. So you see, the painter, it is not like you do some random throwing of the colors and then suddenly one pattern comes out. No. Before the pattern manifests in the pen and paper, through the pen and paper, the pattern was there very much in the consciousness of the artist. But we, within science, we only deal this as a pattern, as a color combination, pixel combination, edges, corners. And this is the very dogmatic way of looking at everything. We are losing the meaning. And hence, we are also trying to become another machine. Okay? So, whether it is a sweater, whether it is a painting, there is a meaning. Who made it? Or nowadays, no grandmother or no mother may be making the sweater, but still you look for a brand, right? This brand is Monte Carlo, this brand is this Globus, and you have some, or how much money you paid for it, or how much warmth it is giving you. It's not simply pattern. So meaning is the driver. We have to recognize this. Okay. So what is consciousness? There are two attributes to consciousness. One is bottom-up approach and the other is top-down approach. In Vedanta, the consciousness, which is manifesting in bottom-up approach, which emerges, is a false consciousness, material consciousness, which is an illusion. Okay? And when scientists talk about this as an illusion, their idea of illusion is completely different. Their idea of hallucination is completely different. Here, the idea of this consciousness is illusion is different than the so-called hallucination. Because suppose I copy in the exam because I want to improve my marks in the exam. So I am taking the process of cheating. According to science, this is simply a chemical process. Some neurotransmitters are firing and that's why he's doing. But you know that if you do this, your teacher is going to penalize you. He may rusticate you from the school for 6 months. This is not there within science. So when in Vedanta, we say our external consciousness is hallucination, it says that this, beyond this consciousness, there is a pure consciousness. So when it talks about illusion, it talks in terms of temporariness. But by cheating, you'll be caught, you'll be penalized, is a reality. And these are the things that are not being accommodated within the science. Okay. Whereas top-down approach, consciousness drives the creativity. For example, artist and our artwork. Their consciousness is a unitary whole. So, in Bhagavad Gita 2.70, I will read this because this is a Sanskrit seminar. So I'll read this Sanskrit verse. All of you will appreciate this. 2.70. Apuriyamana. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudram apaha pravisanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravisanti sarve sasantim apnoti na kama kami. So this is the verse that is there in Bhagavad Gita, which says a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, not the man who strives to satisfy such desire. So basically, Vedanta is saying that the consciousness pure, when you are situated in that, is so unlimited in terms of the experience that you reject all the external experiences that haunts you, right? And this particular consciousness, that pure consciousness, that was again told in Bhagavad Gita, 17th verse, and that verse is 2.17. Avinasi tu tadviddhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasam abhayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. That which pervades the entire body is known to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So this is very profound. Why? Because sometimes we get really, because we always collect data from only one source. If we collect data or we give emphasis to the data that we collect using our own sensory perception, you will find wisdom in that. For example, what we say within science, how sensory perception takes place. Sensory perception takes place. Suppose I ask you, how do you see me? What is your answer? Your answer in that is that you are seeing me in your computer screen. If I ask you to explain in detail, then you will say, no, I see the computer, I'm watching the computer screen, and then from there some light photons are coming, and these photons are hitting my optical nerves in my eyes, and then there are some sensation, and there is a consciousness within the brain. And this is what the neuroscience says. But you don't experience me in your brain. That's for sure. Nobody experiences. For example, suppose if I tell you that I am seeing Soham. So I will see, according to neuroanatomy, I would see Soham's shirt color in a specific part of my brain. I'll see his shape in another part of the brain. I'll see his location in another part of the brain. Means not see, those informations are being processed in different parts of the brain. But where is my experience? That nobody has. This answer nobody has. I have the experience. All that we can say related to color, related to shape, related to location, different neurons are being excited in different places. But nobody can say this, that Where is my experience? And here Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, we are seeing this, or we are having this experience in our consciousness. And again, there are two categories of consciousness. One is spiritual, the other is material. And material consciousness is made up of these 8 elements, and these are all details. The question is, can we bring these ideas from Vedanta and bring it to the science, empirical science? Because science has to be empirical. We cannot have a science that cannot be empirically verified, because because then anybody can come anything and it can pass as a science. No, that is not accepted. So what we are seeing as of now, like for example, I'm speaking, you are seeing me and you are hearing me. Later, if you hear me simply through audio, you already know that this is my voice. In my voice, I am there. In the voice of Soham, Soham is there. These are the basic idea of Sankhya philosophy, where it says source matters. And these ideas can be brought out if we only can understand what is a semantic space. And this semantic space has not been construed anywhere. And that is the challenge. I wanted to discuss, but this is a very, very tough concept, but I wanted to let you know. Anything, whether it is your form, whether it is your speech, everything is ultimately within science is a pattern. And in machine learning, how you solve it? You yourself, as a researcher, I have to find an objective function. For me, for example, I hear so many voices. Suddenly the phone call comes. I go and pick up. The moment he speaks or she speaks, I know this is Ranjan, this is Anjan, this is my mother. I know already. Okay. This is a completely different processing, which I call semantic processing. Then this syntactic processing, which is happening nowadays in all our AI, that, we said this is an AI machine, but I have to figure out what is the objective function. Not only I have to collect the data, I have to design the learning algorithm. And finally, the interpretation has to be given by me. Because for any AI machine will not make a distinction between 25 degrees centigrade and 25 let us say Pascal, 25 Pascal pressure, air pressure. It will not make any distinction. For a neural network, 25, that's it. But for me, if I go to hilly area, the pressure that I experience, or you are going in the traveling in the you are making a movement in the what called elevator. What is that elevator? What you say? Lift. You feel different pressure there, right? Air pressure. So you have temperature. You experience it. There's a temperature, right? So these things are not. So this semantic processing is so important. Okay. So there are two categories: syntactic machine, semantic machine. It's dull, hard-coded. Semantic machine can set its own goal. So basically, before, if I want to go to this kind of science, first of all, I must realize where we are and where we must go, right? And I have already explained this slide. Let me not, so can we make semantic machine? A radical change of perspective needed. We need semantic science. Present science has been studying the observation. We need to study the observer, the experiencer. Science only analyzes the experience. But the experiencer is the consciousness, the living being. So that has to be, the source must be studied. We have rejected the source. Okay. So anyway, so these are all some of the ideas that are there in Vedanta. What is an experience? A distinct sensory perception, a spatio-temporal experience. I always ask this question: how do you differentiate this object and this object? How do you experience this? And always people say, by SEP. Then I'll ask them, suppose this glass and other glass are same. How do you separate? How do you differentiate between these two? Or I'll put these two in a box. How will you experience? How will you make a distinction? Or how do you make a distinction between two persons? And people, most of us, I have asked this question many times, and people say they give all weird answer. They don't give a proper answer. And then when I give them an answer, they scratch their head. And it takes long time even to appreciate the answer. Answer is, it is space, 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 space. We make distinction between two objects in the space of sound, in the space of touch, in the space of form, space of smell, and space of taste. And I used to give this example again and again, that when we used to go to our +2, in our time, it was intermediate science. We used to have a physics lab, chemistry lab, biology lab, and there is practical, and that mark was sent to the board. So before chemistry lab exam, we are asked that we must go and give some money. I think 20 rupees or 40 rupees. I did my completed my intermediate science in 83, and so that time, so we gave before the exam, the lab assistant some money, 20 rupees or 40 rupees, and then next day morning when we went, there is a basket and there are sheets are there, some papers, and our teacher would tell, pick one. So I picked some, and I saw there is some number is written. So in his paper, that number refers to some unknown salt, right? And the packet was given to me. So I went, and I was going, the lab assistant, he took one piece, a small particle from that salt, put in his mouth and said, this is hydrogen chloride. Now, once I knew hydrogen chloride, I know what are the tests I have to do. Then I will say this is hydrogen, right? So I have to go through this syntactic process. But already the scientist, this lab assistant, who doesn't, probably doesn't, he cannot explain what is chemistry. But simply by these 5 cognitive processes, he could tell me, this is the salt. And still we have not mastered this cognitive process of understanding a salt. So this is what I'm trying to forget about going even much bigger idea. Okay. So semantic space, we have to define it. It gives an object in unique identity. It provides distinction between two objects It is the resting place for information. What is information? Information in terms of sound, touch. These are the information. Okay. And space gives every object a shape or a structure. Just like this object has occupied a space, and this object cannot occupy the same space occupied by this. It is not possible. And it is true in all special concept. So these are the things that we need to understand. And I will not give because there are so many things there. Let me not go in details of this. Let me go to the conclusion because it's already 1 hour. It's better that I take some question. Conclusion. In spite of tremendous progress in AI, deep learning, all AI machines are syntactic machines. Our interpretation makes their output meaningful. Semantic machines researchers talk about, and I have not seen anyone really working on it. This is the big problem. We have to now create an awareness that we have to recognize there is a form of matter in which there is a cognitive element. And cognitive elements are innate. It doesn't emerge. These are some of the core idea we get from Vedanta. And at least we should take that and start doing research and change the agenda in the research. Consciousness has many layers: physical, mental, intellectual, reflected, pure, and pure. And let's talk about the consciousness in the physical layer, meaning the living matter in its very gross form. Science develops by taking a baby step. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Behera, for this wonderful talk. And I will open it up for any questions. If anyone has any question, please raise their hand. And
I think we have a few questions in the chat box. We can take them.
in the chat box, there had been a
Can you
lot
read
of
them?
discussion. It is
Yeah, I
a long
understand.
discussion, actually. So mostly they are referring, I think, what by going through it like in a very superficial manner, could understand that they are talking about Sophia and other Sophia of consciousness, or it is only intelligence, some hard-coded intelligence. So
But
Professor
that
Behera, if
answer
you
I have
can
given.
shed some
That
light
answer
on
I have
it.
given. Right?
Yeah, yes.
That answer I have
Yes,
already
sir.
given. Yeah.
So there are a few questions also in addition to this discussion. So for example,
if you could extract them out,
yes,
Anil sir,
I think we
then.
should. Yeah, we can. So Abhishek is asking, is the soul concept is true?
Yes, obviously it is true. It is true, but then that's why it is said Sarupena Vyavasthitam. Those who understand Sanskrit, they understand. Sarupena Vyavasthitam. Just like to understand dimension of a material object, you take a scale that is made up of material thing. Similarly, to understand yourself, the pure consciousness, you have to be within your Sarupa, within your natural state, that is pure consciousness. So within pure consciousness, you can experience the pure consciousness. So that is what is Sarupena Vyavasthitam. So yes, and there are many seers starting from Adi Shankaracharya in the current generation to Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are many seers. They have not only experienced it, demonstrated it, and have transformed people from being very ordinary to very divine.
Thank you. So another participant is asking, how can I understand this cognitive element is self-eminent?
Very good question. The very idea of cognition is that being self-aware. And it is not, this is not something that you can immediately grasp it. You see that when I came this particular concept in 1988, it's almost like 32 years. And every time the contemplation on that gives me newer and newer avenues to explore and understand. Because that is the nature. Whatever I would like to understand now, I depend on my sensory perception. And in Vedanta, it is talked about, like in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna says, just like a tortoise withdraws its limbs, similarly, a seer of truth or a seeker of truth, he learns how to withdraw his senses from the sense objects. And that very process sanctifies you so much that you start becoming enlightened. You start seeing yourself. And this is a process. And the first process is sense control. Beyond sense control is mind control. And beyond mind control is to be situated in chitta, the consciousness. So there are steps to get it.
Thank you. Does present machines have enough memory to be semantic machines?
This is what you cannot, like now, for example, if you have built a machine to understand apple, and you would like that machine to understand human, it's not possible, because that is how you have not trained that machine. In the similar way, sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yes. So does present machines have enough memory?
Yeah, got it. So the current machines are, what is current machine? It doesn't matter, even any AI machine. Ultimately, the processing is happening using our we can say father of computer science, probably, the Alan Turing's theory of computation. It's all zeros and ones. You can all bring all those algorithms to that long tab. And then there is motion, the symbolic manipulation, right? From one storage space to another storage space. So this is not what is semantic space. Semantic space is not reductionist. It's holistic. This is the fundamental difference between the semantic space and the current syntactic space, whether it is a Euclidean space or a Hilbert space, any space you can now talk about. Fiber bundle, there are so many spaces come, but it's all again the same. So we have to change our thinking. We have to think, because mind influences brain. When Vedanta says that mind, where is this mind? Let me explain to you. Where is this mind? Mind pervades your whole body. Still, mind is apart from you. This is a very intricate subject matter. Like, for example, my finger is cut. It is no more with me. My personality doesn't change. Right? But when it was with me, I was telling, this is me, this is me. Don't cut it. The moment it is cut, still, you are there. Your personality doesn't change. In a similar way, and the entire body, the way it has grown from a single cell to 120 trillion cells. It is your mind. It has certain expression, certain desire. That has expanded in the form of 120 trillion cells. That is why they are non-different. I'll give you another example. Like an artist has made a very nice painting. He put everything there and nicely painted. Somebody envious of him comes and burns that painting. Right? So if you look at this painting is non-different from that artist. It is within him. He brought out that in the form of the pen and paper. But even if you burn it, he is not burnt. It is similar way. This entire body is an expression of mind. Even if body is burnt, mind is not burnt. And Vedanta goes to the next level. Even mind is destroyed. Consciousness is not destroyed. That is the ultimate form of the existence.
Sir, I would like to ask a question which will be continuation of what you were just discussing about how consciousness is seen in Vedanta. So, like when one experiences the consciousness by situating himself or herself in the chitta, then this Vedanta philosophy is coming out, and he realizes that consciousness is what is expressing itself through this physical realm.
Right.
So now, if this is the truth, then to make any semantic machine, we have to start with the consciousness in hand and situate that consciousness within that machine. So the consciousness should act from within the machine. But how we can do that? Because we cannot create the consciousness. Consciousness has to come and situate itself within that machine, just like it has situated itself within our own body.
Yeah, I understood that. Yes.
So how can we make an attempt towards making a semantic machine?
Very good question. When I said how to build a semantic machine, means how to simulate our mind. You see, actually, I wanted to bring some of the recent PPTs here, but I didn't. But these are topics that we have to go step by step. But let me explain to you what has happened in the current paradigm. That when I have a disease, suppose I have a fever, I go to the chemist and get a medicine, get cured, right? But suppose you go through a disease where you worked hard, you failed in the exam. You go through a disease where you got married and suddenly things didn't work out and you are going through a reverse process. Suppose you are going through, you are doing a business and your business going on nicely and suddenly you incurred heavy losses. And there is no science for this. This pandemic, so many people have become attacked by the mental health. Mental health is going to be a very big crisis for this current civilization. And unfortunately, we have made the science of psychology subservient to science of physics, chemistry, and biology. Originally, the science of psychology must be more fundamental than physics, chemistry. And this requires some more elaboration. So it is not a machine that we are going to build. No, we have to understand this concept of semantic space in such a way that we can cure the living matter. And of course, once you understand living matter better, then the corresponding, the very derivative of science and technology will be naturally environmental friendly. There will be a symbiosis among the 88.4 million species, which is the need of the hour. So when I talk about a conscious machine, I'm talking about, can we develop the laws of semantics, laws of mind, and we can do it.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. And
Yeah.
like this is perhaps the answer that I was also looking at, to like develop machines actually means to make the living matter more
Yeah,
lively,
to
like
simulate the
yeah.
living matter, to simulate the living matter. Correct.
I
In
think
fact, recently I gave a talk on simulation of mind-body simulation. So, yeah.
And ultimate purpose is to create a better life for
Better
the
life.
matter which is already
Better life.
living,
Better
not for the dead matter.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a few more very interesting questions, Professor Behera.
Yeah.
Is the soul created by some super intelligent or self-created?
No, that already I said it is uncreated.
Yes.
It cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. That
Yes.
in the very first slide I explained that. That is there in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Ajanma. So that is why in Vedanta, birth and death both are illusion. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't we use biological methods to build a conscious machine instead using mechanical and mathematical methods?
Even biology is same. Whether it is biology or physics or chemistry, it is all based on syntactic science. So once you understand the laws of semantics, then your physics will improve, your chemistry will improve, your biology will improve. So we have to go one step ahead. Yeah.
Great. Another question is, if the mass become negligible, can we teleport our body? In Vedanta, Sukshma Sharira. What today's science tell about it?
Sukma Sarira. When I was conducting this international conference on international workshop on BIS, what is it? Biologically inspired system science, NIIT Jodhpur. I conducted this in 2011 or 12. I'm forgetting, when Professor Kalra was the director there. So I had invited people from France and America who have done extensive research on near-death experience. And there are empirical evidence that in Sukma Sarira you can be in the upper floor and still can see what is happening on the ground floor. So these are the evidences that are, I brought one person from France, and we were trying to get some easy data from a person who has this certain ability to access somebody's consciousness. Okay, so these are things, but they have to be studied in a very systematic way, not like so many superstition and bogus people entering into in the name of gurus and this and that and polluting things. Intelligent people must come and enter into this area and bring in empiric science. Any science must be empiric. That is my warning to all of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there is one interesting question.
Hmm.
Could an argument be made against the existence of our consciousness, as our minds could be just complex machines undergoing multiple constant reactions and issuing commands to the body? Are we even conscious?
Good question. See, if you want to speculate, you can go on speculating. There is no end to it. Right? You only live for that many years. Some 50, some 60, some 100, some 5 years, 20 years. So you have a limited time. And if you follow the process of speculation, I don't think that you will ever understand yourself. That is why Vedanta always talks about top-down approach. And it is not based on some kind of, hearsay. Eh? You imagine a person at the age of 8 takes sannyas in Kerala, walks from Kerala to Badrinath, bare feet, and there, reaching in Badrinath, he jumps onto the Narada Kunda, where if you put your finger in that Kunda, you would freeze. And he jumps into that and brings out Badrivisa from the bottom of the Kund, which is almost like 150 feet. So when such a person talks, we have to listen. Just like we listen to Einstein or Newton, Max Planck. We must listen to these people. We should not make this mistake. Oh, they may not be right. I would give this answer to your question. So when you accept an authority, because in Bhagavad Gita it says that viddhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnana jnaninam tattvadarshi. Every time you will find some people, they are tattvadarshi, seers of truth. With the seers of truth, they teach you about the truth. Just like somebody who has seen the atom can explain to you what is an atom. Exactly the same way. We have seers of truth. And they teach us. And we learn it. So we are done, Amarji?
I think if you have some, we have a couple of questions.
Yeah. I am liking the questions. No problem.
Great.
Yeah.
And we have one question. What is the connection between mind and brain, and how can we prevent brain-related diseases like Parkinson or Alzheimer?
Yes, yes. This is where we have to do a lot of research. Current science is failing miserably. I had a student who was doing PhD and suddenly he became mentally, he would tell sometimes, sir, somebody is hacking my brain. Then someday he will tell and say, somebody has stolen data from my computer. And somehow I have to, make him write. He could not write his thesis. I have to use some of my friend and make him write his thesis and submit his thesis. But people are going through this tremendous psychological issues, and we don't have a science for it. The recent example, all of you can go through, Cian Connors. You can look at him. He has published now a book along with the subject that I'm going to talk about. This girl was diagnosed mentally depressed. It was declared medically that she's unfit for anything. Okay. And this Sean Connor is an Irish fellow. So he sent, because when she was brought to him, she was sent to an organic farm in Ireland. And then she was given certain daily activities, and she started doing it. I don't know exactly how many days or months it took. Not only she got cured, she became one of the, I think, prize winner artist in France, in Paris, and she's currently pursuing PhD. And within modern science, he was, psychologically so depressed, can't be cured. But I can tell you there are so many processes by which we can cure. We are doing some of the research work we did some of the research work in classical music, Rag Darwari. And we showed that how Rag Darwari can improve your cognition level, can improve your intelligence level. So these are the things that, we can do a lot of research in this, because we have a lot of sources of authentic knowledge within our literature. So, yes, so this science is necessary, but then there has to be a national psyche to emerge, to come out of the present paradigm. I'm not saying present paradigm is completely wrong. They have given us the approach how to make something very scientific. Okay, one of the contributions of the current science is it has to be empirically verifiable. And that same thing that we have in our thing, we can take them and can make it empirically verifiable. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of curious questions. And one of the common questions is how to enter into this subject? How to start with this?
Very good idea. First thing is that you read Bhagavad Gita. Let me tell all of you, Bhagavad Gita is religion neutral. It doesn't belong to a Hindu or a Christian or Muslim. It's pure science. It's Robert Oppenheimer, the nuclear physicist from Berkeley, who built the first atom bomb. He appreciated it. Einstein appreciated it. Hermann Hesse appreciated it. Mahatma Gandhi appreciated it. They read it again and again and again. Why? These people are not ordinary people. So this is my first suggestion to all of you, to enter into this. Take a crash course on Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as Professor Behera suggested, those who are interested to have Swadhyaya with Bhagavad Gita, please write to us, and the email address I'm typing in the chat box, so that in the campus maybe we can start some brainstorming sessions on Bhagavad Gita. So now I request our student volunteer Mridul to offer a vote of thanks.
Audible, sir?
Yes.
You're audible.
Yeah.
Sarve Namo Namah, Mama Nama Mridulaha. On behalf of Sanskrit Club IIT Roorkee, I would like to thank Professor Lakshmidhar Behera for enlightening us through his knowledge and intelligence. It was amazing, Professor, how you related the applicability of ancient Indian philosophy and modern innovation. We wish you all the best for your upcoming position as the director of IIT Mandi. And obviously, we would like to hope hear you again soon. I'd also like to thank Professor Soham Chakrabarti, who is the faculty coordinator of this event, and most importantly, all of you who attended this live event, or you are watching the recorded stream. Sarve dhanyavadaha. Punah milama.
Namo Namaha.
All of you are
Namo
requested to
Namaha.
please Namo Namaha. All of you are requested to please give your feedback. Some of you have already given, and certainly with your feedback we will improve the quality and quantity of the lectures. So please fill the form which has been given in the chat box. And Behera Mahodaya, Mahan Santoshaha.
Dhanyavadaha.
Sir, Shanti chant.
Shanti chant we will do.
Okay. Sahana bhavatu.
Mahodaya.
Yeah.
Arambham karotu, Mridulaha.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyat Dukh Bhag Bhaved. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you, Professor Behera, once again. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you all for listening. And it was really question answer session was very lively. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you can close the session, Mridulaha.
Yes, sir.